la famille.
I'm very happy to be with you, Julia, Jean-Charles, and Luca. It's a pleasure to be talking with you today. And I have tons of questions to ask you, but just let's start by the beginning. Maybe each one can introduce himself or herself. Maybe Julia, you can start.
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julia Barry, and I'm directly responsible for helping startups scale on AWS by partnering with the most influential startup organizations in France, like the Family. And I help startups scale through business mentoring, granting access to growth programs, and basically connecting founders to internal resources at Amazon and within my personal network.
So cool. Luca?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Luca. I am the CEO and co-founder at StarOfService. So StarOfService is a marketplace for local services. So let's say you need a plumber, a DJ, or an electrician, we will find you the right pro. We are in more than 130 countries. We are providing 900 services on our platform. And so far we raised more than $10 million. And that's all. We try to create a world where it is easily to get help from service professional.
Thank you, Luca. And you, Jean-Charles?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jean-Charles. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alan. With Alan, we are trying to transform healthcare to make it fair, frictionless, and personal for everyone, being like the super app that you will use to access the best prevention, the best information, and the best care, whether that care is digital or physical, in a way that is really adapted to you. And we started by building a health insurance company. In France, we cover roughly 100,000 people in France right now from more than 6,000 companies. We are live also in Spain and Belgium for 1 month. So it's pretty exciting to build a European platform for health. We have raised 125 million euros from world-class investors such as Index, Temasek, or DST. And we are 240 today, heavily distributed with a lot of people working remotely.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with you, Jean-Charles, because you recently released a new book, Healthy Business, in which you reveal the culture of Alan. It's based on, if I may, radical transparency and asynchronicity. Can you explain us a little bit more on how it works, this culture, on a daily basis, and why do you think it is healthier? It is an healthier way to move forward?
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Yeah, we have just released a book that share how we try to make things at Alan, because we believe that you need a very strong and straight internal culture if you want to have a very strong and straight and transparent external product, and the two are really connected. And yes, the thesis behind the culture of Alan is that if you want to solve very big, hard problems, you need to attract the best people in the world. To attract the best people in the world, you need to give them a lot of power and ownership on making decisions. And it's giving them context to make decisions and not telling them what to do. And in order to give them that context, you need to be radically transparent. And so we give every information, everything is accessible, from salary, equity, all the metrics, all the decisions we made, even the tough one, to the team. And we create a feedback loop, which is really important to help people grow and to have people increase the quality of the company. And one big part of radical transparency and distributed ownership is asynchronous work, because you give the power to people to work anywhere they want. And for us, we say our office is Europe. You give the power to people to organize themselves. They are not forced to be at a meeting at a certain point of time. They can organize their day depending on their constraints, how they work best. It's also forces you to document a lot the way you work. And it's documenting and working in a written asynchronous way is very powerful because it becomes the best idea that wins, that is backed with the best data, with the best intuition, that is maximizing the risk we take for the upside. But it's not like the white man at the table who speaks the loudest who wins. And we find that very important. And we have built this kind of knowledge base where the 7,000 decisions we have made in the last 4 years with Alan, everyone can access them in a very transparent way. So it creates this kind of internal accountability that we find is very, very strong and very compatible with working from anywhere. Because what you don't want to do is create two kinds of citizens. The citizens that are at the office and the citizens that are remote, and it's what we have tried to do.
Very clear. Thank you, Gisè. To Julia and Luca, so how would you describe the culture of your company? Julia, maybe you want to start?
Sure, I can go ahead. So the culture at AWS, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when a startup partners with a cloud provider, it's typically a long-term decision they're making. And they want to ensure that they really understand what's unique about our culture. So first of all, we're unusually customer focused. Customer obsession is actually our first leadership principle. And it does not mean that we do everything that our customers, that we start with the customer and we work backwards. Secondly, we're pioneers and we hire builders. In a space that's moving as fast as the cloud, startups want to partner with a company that has the most functionality, that's iterating the quickest, and that has the largest community. So innovation and speed are part of our DNA. And I usually like to describe it, we continue to act like a hungry startup. So this is very true. And lastly, we're long-term oriented. If you look at the startup organization at AWS, we are all ex-startup founders, ex-startup investors, or we've worked in a way or another with the startup ecosystem. And this is because we really want to act in our customers' long-term interest. So it goes beyond technology. We want, to connect startups to internal and external stakeholders. We want to make VC introductions. We want to leverage our knowledge to really help startups grow.
Okay, very clear. Okay, I get it. And you, Luca?
Us at StarOfService, what we want is, like all the company in each sector, is to be number one. So what we try to do is to build a culture based on that and trying to make sure that everyone in the team is aware that the challenge is really, really big. I mean, we are talking about on our sector, we are talking about facing Google Home Services. We are talking about facing Facebook services, Amazon Home Services. So you need really a strong culture. But first, you need to think about culture in a way that, what is the definition of culture? It's a set of rules, okay, beliefs, values, behaviors. So when you know that, you try to make sure that it's driving everyone in the same direction. So thanks to culture, you can drive everyone in the same direction, and you can achieve your mission. So at StarOfService, for example, our mission is to bring services to everyone, everywhere. So when you do that, then you can start drafting some values, you can start drafting some behaviors, etc., etc. And if I had to describe this, we have 4 main values, I would say. Ambition. We want to conquer and dominate the world in our sector, I would say. Obsessed. We put the customer at the center of everything we do. Velocity, super important. Velocity, I mean, you need the right cadence, and we do not want the statu quo, and we want rhythm in everything we do. And then, of course, excellence, which means that we have an attention to details in everything we do. Now, what is super important at StarOfService, and what I like to say is that, and it's a bit, it's quite unusual, is that I like to say that we have a war culture. At the opposite of the love culture and stuff like this, the war culture is we say, okay, we see the competition like the enemy, the market like a battlefield, and we say, okay, in a war, you need warriors, you need an army, and we see our people like real warriors, and we try to drive them to accomplish stuff that seems impossible. So then when you start doing that, why you start doing that is because you fight every day. Entrepreneurship, and when you try to build something big, you fight, you do the war against the competitor, you do the war to build a great product, you do the war because you have some legal stuff coming. It's always the war. So today it's the kind of war culture of self-service, but maybe tomorrow it would be love. Okay, because culture is evolving with the product, of course. But today it's a war. And just to give you a quick example is that when you start having that kind of culture, then you start having some behaviors and stuff that are popping up. For example, the name of our meeting room in our former office had the name of famous Normandy beaches from the World War II, So we had one meeting room called Omar, one other meeting room called Juno, Sword, Utah Beach. Then we have also the sprint in development. We do not call that sprint, we call that War Week. So you need to do a War Week in order to deliver. And then also we have the meetings that are War Council. We have Slack channel that are War Room. And the other funny stuff is that at the end you start having some people. Our CTO, for example, is I remember that. So Nicolas, he had a map in the office, and when we launch a new country and when we start to invade a new country, he pinned the country and say, okay, we are going to invade that country. And that kind of culture is just super important because it's reminding everyone that we are fighting for free. We try to bring liberty to the world. We want to fight against the bad solution on our market, and we want to bring our solution. And for that, we need to fight. And
it's totally coherent with who you are. You're good at martial arts as well. And I'm receiving some of your emails directly because I'm part of the investment board. And so I can see your tone of voice, and it's really coherent. And
yep.
What I think it's not about the topic and the object itself. It's as long as you are coherent from the ones who embody this to the word you use, that's what makes sense. And you, Luca, during the lockdown, so you've been switching radically to remote work, right? Because all your team switched, and you decided to close your office.
Yes, exactly. Actually, what happened is that first we need to know that StarOfService is quite atypical, which means that since the beginning we are 90% remote. And then over the years, we did staff people in HQ near Paris, in Courbevoie. And then, well, yes, when the COVID came, we said, okay, let's just switch fully remotely, because we already have the processes, we know how to work remotely, and it's better for everyone because remote has huge benefits.
Yeah. Okay. Julia, how did your culture has played at AWS a strong role during COVID? If you could give us some example. Is it me or?
No, I have you. I think it's Julia.
I think, all right. So maybe Jean-Charles, you could explain how the culture at Alan has been playing a strong role during COVID, and Julia will get to us.
I think what Lucas said is really important. Culture is not about like posters you put on a wall. It's about all the norms and all the process on how you make a decision within your company. And for us, we were a company that put remote as one important part of the company for no years. So it was not a surprise, and COVID for us, I was a bit crazy about it. So in January, I already ordered mask and gel for the company, and so we closed the office before the containment, and we had a mission, and our mission is to serve our members, to serve our community, to transform healthcare, to make them navigate a very complex system, and a very complex system, especially in the world of COVID. And so what our culture was an enabler. We were able to ship a symptom checker within 3 days, a free product accessible to everyone with telemedicine, content, meditation, yoga classes in less than a week as well. And we did that because of a few things. First, I go back to ownership. Like it was not top down. We gave the power to the team to switch gears, to decide the priorities, and to make decisions and to ship product. It's also building a culture of risk and failure, which means launching a product in 3 days is super hard, and people are willing to do it if they know they are going to be in a safe zone if it doesn't work. And what we mean by doesn't work is not that we are not going to do something that is useful to members, like in health you have to, but if the growth doesn't work, if the activation and retention doesn't work, it's not a problem. Like you've tried, we are learning and we are iterating. So it's really creating this culture where you push people to be empowered, where you push people to be, what we like to say, it's enlightened despots. So despots, because we are not a democracy. We want everyone, and we have no manager at Alan. We don't like that title. Everyone is a manager and is able to make decisions. And so we push them to be despots and to make those decisions which are not a consensus, but they need to be enlightened. So they need to have input from the team, and a good process is a decision process where someone doesn't please the others, but have taken input to change their view or to upgrade their view, and we think that is very, very important. And we have done that in the context of COVID, in the context of remote work, because our tools allowed us to do so. For example, all our decisions are taken on GitHub. We use GitHub issues, so it's an internal forum. And so it was business as usual for us. Like we kept making decisions on GitHub, and that worked out super well for us. And it was kind of our mission. What was wonderful to see is people being so much, like giving so much of themselves to solve the problem for members and for the community, because it's what we are about. It was just beautiful to see, and just let the company live and do it without any need of leadership.
Julia, so how did the culture at AWS play a strong role during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Actually, before talking about this, I want to, really agree with what Jean-Charles was saying. Culture is not a marketing campaign, and it's not something you put on a wall, right? And I see so many companies who have a list of values posted on their careers websites and believe that this is what culture means. And it's definitely not. And actually, one of my favorite authors, maybe you've heard of him, Simon Sinek, the way he describes culture is really basically the alignment between what you say, what you do, and what you actually believe in. And I think it's very true. And I think about that culture is really about consistency. If we look at, COVID specifically, this crazy situation meant that as an organization, we had to move quickly. And to move quickly, companies need to make sure that they hire builders who look at customer experiences that are flawed and then figure out how to reinvent those. And our people actually reacted very quickly and started offering many services to customers. So number one, we started offering cost optimization webinars and sessions. So here we were helping startups identify and take actions to really optimize their cloud spending. So we did this with many startups in France and elsewhere, also with StarOfService, so with you, Luca. Secondly, we delivered one-on-one tech mentoring with our solutions architect, who are actually...
Sorry, Julia, on that side, it's interesting to have the feedback of Luca.
Yeah.
So you are using AWS. During the crisis, you've been asking them for reviewing the pricing or help, or what was the conversation? Because this is super interesting.
It's for me or for...
Yeah, it's for you, Luca.
Yes, no, I mean, during that time, of course, you try to optimize everything that you can in order to be in shape, because you don't know how it's going to end and how the crisis is going to end. So yeah, we were in touch with AWS in order to see how we could optimize everything, servers, etc., and they have been really helpful on that side. And it's super important to have that kind of reactivity in terms of when you are in a crisis.
Yeah, and it's not given. Like, it's not because you are with a big name that you can expect this kind of care. Actually.
No.
Yeah. Thank you. So, okay, Julia. Yes, sorry. I...
No worries. No worries. So yeah, we delivered cost optimization sessions. We helped CTOs one-on-one with our solutions architect to help also the customers that were dealing with peaks of traffic. So I'm thinking of companies like Livestorm, Klaxoon, all these companies that had spikes in traffic that we helped technically. And a bit like the family did, we moved all of our events, big and small, online. So for example, I'm sure you've heard of AWS reInvent, which is the world's largest cloud event. It was held in Las Vegas last year, and now it's a free 3-week virtual conference. So I think the lessons from this is that we adapted our ways of working instead of canceling everything because we couldn't find a solution. And this mindset of we're in this together was really great for team morale, for the overall motivation, and also for business results.
And for how long are you working remotely?
So we've been working remotely since March, because that was the date in France when we went into lockdown. And we've been working remotely since then.
And until when?
We have apparently a date up to January, and then we'll see if we're going back or not. But again, I think the mindset has changed in the sense that what can be done from home, all the operational work, there are no issues to work from home. Now, offices, I believe, will be used to meet customers, to brainstorm, to network, to onboard new employees. This will be more, I think, the future of the workplace.
Jean-Charles, just to understand, among your employees, how many of them prefer working remotely versus the ones who wants to come to the office?
Yeah, it's a good mix. We have people that are fully remote for years and that love it. I would say 15 to 20% of the company. We have then, I would say 80%, 70-80% that are half-ish remote. So it depends on the week, it depends on the day in the week or on the month, and we give them that flexibility. And we have people that really enjoy being at the office. And we don't feel that we should close the office longer term. We feel that our job is really to help our employees to work from anywhere. And work from anywhere can mean working from an office, because I enjoy that. I enjoy having whiteboard sessions. I enjoy having lunch with my coworkers. And what we want is give that flexibility, but to give that flexibility, you need a culture where being at the office is not better than not being at the office. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, for most organizations. And I hope we are solving it well. But what is really interesting is that these tendencies are changing and accelerating. we had a lot of employees that moved out of Paris in the last few months, like definitely. And it's great that we can give them that opportunity. And it's great for us that they want to stay with Alan and remain Alaners. Like that combination of both is really, really important, I feel. And it's, at the end of the day, I think all that is a question of trust. And do you manage to keep a bijective or bilateral trust, meaning that as a company, we trust our employees and our team to make the right decision and to work for the benefit of the company? And does the employees trust the company to be fair, to be transparent, to make it work for everyone wherever you are? And that building that trust is really the most important thing to do.
And are you thinking, for instance, I'm just curious of providing your employees who moved away, who moved from Paris, the same kind of advantages like a co-working place, a co-working space spot?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, sorry. That's exactly what we do. It's when you are more than a certain number in a city, you can have a shared co-working place. And it's the case in Nantes, for example, for our team, and of course in Belgium, in Spain, where we have bigger teams. But if you're alone in a city, we also help you finance a co-working place to work if you need to. And the idea is almost in every place it's less expensive than an office in the center of Paris. So it's always a good deal for us at the end of the day. And what we want is, we have a very high bar in terms of hiring, but when people are in, we want to give them everything to be as successful as possible. So investing in the team is really important.
All right. Luca, tell me something. How has StarOfService culture shifted regarding sustaining employees' enthusiasm and recruiting tools? How do you keep your teams motivated? Especially, I'm thinking about your war-ish kind of culture, like everybody in the same room, it can feel better to motivate. How do you manage that?
Actually, it comes back to what shaped the culture and what having a strong culture means. And there is different kind of stuff that allow people to keep being motivated, to keep being loyal to the company, that allow also the company to hire. And it's divided between a couple of points, like mission to matrix statement, we call that. Elon Musk is famous for that at Tesla, for example. It means that you need to be able to have the mission and vision understood by everyone in the company. Everyone should access the matrix in the company, and everyone should know, by heart, the mission to matrix statement. So this is the first point. Then there is also the question of fun. How do you have fun when you switch from office to remote? Then you have the celebration. How do you celebrate everything? How do you work? Do you eat together? And how do you communicate? So on our side, the question has been to just trying to work on those points and trying to make them work in the remote system. So for example, if I take the mission to matrix statement, every day, every week, in every weekly update, monthly updates, quarterly update, I talk about the mission, I talk about the vision, I talk about the values, I talk about the metrics. I am 100% transparent. I give the cash, the revenues that we are generating, the cash that we are burning, the runway also. And that was before, because now we are profitable. But the fact is that I am 100% transparent. And then I always, and this is funny because Julia was talking about that, is like Simon Sinek is saying, okay, you always need to remind why. I want people to understand why they wake up in the morning, why they put themselves in front of a computer in order to work. And it's super important, and the why is super important, and the mission is super important if you want to drive the team. So that's the first thing. Then there is the fun. Okay, how do you make people having fun? okay, when you are in the office, you can play baby foot, you can just having celebrating birthday with a nice cake, etc., etc. But then when you are fully remote, it's much more complicated. So I would say that it's one of the pain points of remote, but we try to fix that pain point where you are able with the team to make jokes in Slack. You can also do some challenges in Slack managed by our HR manager. So it's possible. Then you have the celebration. So instead to celebrate in the HQ in office, you celebrate on Slack. So you just distribute kudos. A guy who did perform during the month, the week, or the quarter, you just distribute kudos. You highlight the fact that the performance has been great. You are able also, when there is a product release or something like this, you are able to do a product demo in front of everyone. So each time it's either written in Slack or it's virtually made, okay? Visually made. And then there is the meals, okay? So you no more eat in-house, so this is the more complicated thing also. So you need to replace that by coffee break and aperitif. And I will say that the two main points of switching from office to remote are the way you work and the way you communicate. So first, the way you work. In remote, I mean, you need to trust people. Like Jean-Charles was saying, you need to trust people. I mean, why traditional companies, like big companies, are not accepting remote right now? It's because they measure performances through the hours that you spend in the office, and they through eye contact they measure your performance. But actually, it's totally wrong, and we do not believe in that. And when you are remote, you need to give ownership to people. You need to organize yourself to give goals, clear deadline, and then people do what they want. You have a good goal tracking system like OKR or another simplified system, and then you get ownership and you give trust. So the way people work is super important in the culture. And then to finish, the communication. When you switch from office to remote, it's super important to over communicate. Okay, over communication. It's better to do more than less. So you keep going weekly all hands, monthly all hands, quarterly updates, 101 stand-up meetings. You try to open we did open, for example, a StarOfService library where we share the good articles that people should read. And then also we have a wiki where people can just check, can deep dive on a specific topic, how to take holidays or stuff like this, and everything is written. And to finish, yes, over communication is super important. And then on our side at StarOfService, we have 4 main productivity tips. Okay, first, extreme focus. So what is good with the remote is that you no more need to commute to work. You have more focus. You remove the anxiety because, of course, you no more take the public transport during COVID. So on our side, we ask people to be extremely focused with only one priority. They have only one priority, not 2, not 3, just one, and they need to tackle one priority. We are anti-meeting. It's a bit like exactly like Alan, actually. We try to avoid meetings, and we try, when we have a meeting with more than 3 or 4 people, it's suspect. It's deemed as suspect, which means that the guys can potentially leave the meeting because it's useless. Then we avoid the Slack pings, which means that, sometimes when you are on, you have people that tends to really ping everyone in all the channels, etc. So we ask people just to slow down the pings, and then of course we ask people to be really autonomous in the way they deal with their problem.
It's really interesting all what you've been developing since COVID. Jean-Charles, it was previously. AWS, it was also previously already set up. I'm wondering now, these are a lot of great tools to be productive while being far from each other. And what have you been experimenting when it comes to socialize within the team, within the company? Not to replace what used to be and how it used to be before, but more to take into account this new context, this anxiety, this uncertainty, and bring something different to overcome maybe this this new anxiety and this new feeling of uncertainty. Maybe Jean-Charles, you have some tips to share?
But I think one of the tips, and we had we onboarded more than 60 employees during the period, fully remotely. And I think the secret sauce is to really have, we hate meeting as well, and we don't focus, but it's have a lot of one-on-ones with relevant people to discuss how you feel, how I can help you, what are you struggling with. And one thing we do as well, we don't like meetings to find decisions, but what we have done is like we have pushed team to have once a week or twice a week, just a think, which is a non-structured discussion, not to really discuss progress, but just to discuss for 25 minutes, 20 minutes, how they feel, what are they happy about, what they are frustrated about, and try to create that serendipity by having unstructured time where you discuss with no objective. And honestly, it's really great moments of communications for the team. And then, yes, we had remote drinks, remote welcome. They were not very transformative, but they help. One thing I did as well, and the team really loves it. So we have also a weekly update. So every Wednesday night, I send an email to the whole team about the progress of the company, the change. And what I did is a video. I do every week now a 3 to 4 minutes video where I try to explain the content of the weekly. And it works super well to create link. And we push people to do also more videos on top of when they comment on an issue to bring some flavor on what they write. And it works well. It works well with async. You need to give the right guidance on how to do it well, but it's super cool to do that. Loom is a great tool to do a video over content, for example.
Thank you.
And
all right,
Alice, if I can add to this. So, for example, at AWS, we kept all of our offsites and team events. We made them, 100% virtual. And so it's true that when it's time to grab a cocktail, you definitely feel the difference. But like Luca, I believe there are a lot of things that can be done to really bring people back together and, to allow employees to do what we do best, which is build relationships. For example, we organized icebreakers with leadership and new employees. So, this game of 2 truths, 1 lie. We organized chat roulettes. We organized using Kahoot, so doing some quiz. And it's true that it helps. And we've also structured the onboarding. So going from, physical onboarding where you meet the IT, you meet your manager, you meet your team. We're doing all of this virtually in a very structured way. And we have every single employee who's assigned what we call an onboarding buddy. So someone who's responsible for, making this employee feel welcome, explaining all the tools and everything they need to know. And the last thing that I want to say about this is that working from home is disruptive. And although there are a lot of advantages, we're not all equal, depending on your personal situation, if you have kids, if you have a small apartment, if you have noisy neighbors, and that's my case, and even mental health. And so that's why at AWS, we gave employees, when the lockdown started, free access to Headspace, so for meditation. Employees can also meet a psychologist if they feel the need to do so. And because, we focus on results and not how much time people are spending on their work, they can basically arrange their schedule the way they want. And I think this is also very important to build trust with your people.
All right. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Jean-Charles. This talk was super, super insightful, very interesting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing all of your experience and tips. There are tons of stuff that people will implement directly. It's been a pleasure. And now it's the second part of this conference. We have another round of workshops coming. Thank you very much. and see you soon. And to all of the participants, let's meet in the main room on the main stage where I'll share with you the next workshops to come.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you,
Thank
Alice.
you,
Thank you,
folks.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Que la famille. Que la famille.